Eagles win. The 49ers offense was unable to recover from the loss of Brock Purdy, and the defense sold. The defense sold the game, giving up opportunity after opportunity to Jalen Hurts and the Eagles' rushing attack. A still injured and hampered Jalen Hurts, a lot more limited than you would think, but he did get hit really hard on a play that where he grimaced and it looked like he got hurt pretty badly. So I don't think it's going to affect him in terms of playing, but maybe he's limited. He'll play in the Super Bowl, but how injured will he be? Will he be able to throw the football? I think he's in a lot better shape than Brock Purdy, who couldn't even throw the football more than 5, 6, 7 yards down the field. Shanahan also sold in this game. Shanahan, from play calling to putting Brock back in there, not trying to figure out another solution. You put Brock in there for what? For what? He couldn't throw the ball. You're better off having some kind of crazy wildcat setup than to throw Brock back into the game. We'll talk about that and more. File on in. The Fantasy Football Show begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
The final seconds will be ticking down here shortly. The Eagles beating the 49ers pretty handsomely, 31-7. Very bad lambasting, and it all started when Brock Purdy got injured. But at the same time, it's like, Shanahan. I said this is going to be a problem for Shanahan. He was going to call a good game. I know he was at a disadvantage, but it was awful to put Brock Purdy back into the game when he couldn't even throw 7 yards down the field. You were better off running a wildcat type of scenario with Debo and CMC, two of the better running players in the NFL. And you throw Brock in there to what? You're not scaring anybody. They're just going to stack the box. There's no ability for Brock Purdy to come back from a 21-7 and then 28-7 type of game. Brock can't throw. What are you going to do? And so now we talk about Brady to the Niners. What did I tell you all last night, the night before? If Brock Purdy fails, regardless of how he fails, I'm not saying it's Brock's fault. I'm not saying life is fair. I'm not saying I even agree with it necessarily. I do think you bring in Brady. But what did I tell you? What did I tell everybody? And let's look at the Brady board right now. What did I tell you? That if Brock Purdy did not win this game, regardless of how, injury, selling, we'd have to come in here and add a Niners tab. So now we're going to put the Niners right here. This would be, I don't even know if this would be the number one spot for someone like Tom Brady, but we'll put Tom Brady and this situation here. Hold on, let me put this here. Tom Brady, New York Jets, Tom Brady, copy him over. A-Rod's going to have to be a consideration here as well for this. New York Jets, 49ers spot. 49ers. Aaron Rodgers is going to be a consideration. What did I tell you? The moment Brock Purdy failed, whatever the reason, we'd be hearing people, including me, including you, including people in the chat, including Niner fans especially, talking about what's next for the quarterback situation. If Brock had won, even if it wasn't due to his play, if the Niners had won, they would want to create a statue for Brock Purdy in San Francisco, and it would be the unquestioned path for the Niners at the quarterback position. Brock Purdy. And now everyone's going to question Brock Purdy, and for good reason, because he's a rookie and you don't really know what he could do, but also unfair because he got injured. But everybody gets injured in Kyle Shanahan's system. They were on their fourth quarterback. Tom Brady is the next option. Tom Brady is picking up the phone right now and calling Kyle Shanahan, and he's going to be headed to San Francisco if he's not going to Miami. He's going to one of the two locations. Miami or San Francisco. Tom Brady will be playing in Miami or San Francisco. Aaron Rodgers will be playing in New York or in San Francisco. Lamar Jackson may be headed to the Raiders or being retained in Baltimore and not signed and traded, or maybe he's in Miami. We now have four teams in play for these three players. Congrats to the Eagles. It was what I wanted. This is how I wanted it to unfold. So
to the moon.
I appreciate my Niner fans, and I do want to say I'm sorry for your loss. But I'm very excited for Jalen Hurts. He's my boy. Jalen Hurts to the moon. Very, very amped about this win for Jalen. I do think of the two teams, Joe Burrow will have an easier time matching up with the Eagles than he would a tough playing Niners. But would I have rather Joe Burrow played this Niners team? Yes. I just don't know what Niner team would show up on Super Bowl Sunday. So, I think this is an okay matchup for Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's got to win today, though. Joe Burrow's playing Patrick Mahomes in a tough KC team later today, and I'm excited for it. This is, and D-Town, I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not trying to call you out. And I'm not saying I disagree or agree with it necessarily, but this is what I knew we would see. I called it last night, the night before on the YouTube channel and on Instagram. We will be seeing messages like this all over the place. The moment this kid loses one game. I'm not saying I believe in him to be the future. I'm just saying I'm here to ask the question, is it fair if he won today's game, everybody would be talking about, yeah, he's probably the future. Now he may not even be the starter. One game, and the guy goes from potentially getting a statue made out in front of the stadium by tomorrow morning. He goes from that to maybe not even being the starter in 2023. It's crazy. And I'm not saying you're wrong, D-Town. I'm just saying it's crazy. And Logan says he's surprised CMC didn't get hurt. So am I. I'm surprised as well. Where's my football? Need to get ready for the game. If Joe Burrow's holding a football right now, I'm holding a football right now. Plain and simple. The poor kid got hurt after a second. Yeah, and he's been exposed. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I mean, he kind of did look exposed against the Dallas Cowboys. Keep in mind that when players like Purdy emerge and there's no film on them, they tend to get away with a lot for a while. And then once teams have a lot more film on them, you start to see players like Purdy get exposed a little bit more. 49ers had 4 QBs hurt this season. It's got so bad that they had to go back to the not as hurt Purdy. As I said earlier, they were under their 5th quarterback, who was technically their 3rd quarterback. Purdy was so injured they couldn't put him in over Johnson. And then when Johnson got hurt, they put Purdy back in. What's that tell you? Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan should be fired by now. And I get so much hate for my Kyle Shanahan rants. What more do you need? Like, I know you're going to say, I know the Kyle Shanahan lovers are going to say, hey, Smitty, you can't say that it was his quarterback got hurt. Not his fault. Not his fault, Smitty. I could say his game plan was garbage. Brock Purdy was so injured, you couldn't put him in over Johnson. Your 4th quarterback, your 4th-string quarterback that wasn't even on the team all year. Purdy was so injured, you couldn't put him in over Johnson. And what do you do when Johnson gets hurt? You go to the guy that wasn't even ready enough to play instead of doing something like, I don't know, Juice was the next quarterback, the next quarterback up. I'm not saying starting Juice would have been the best scenario known to man. I would have put CMC and Debo in at some sort of like what do you call it? Some sort of, what's it called? Wildcat. I would run Wildcat with CMC and Debo, 2 of the best running players in the National Football League. For everybody that says Kyle Shanahan's a good coach and he should remain the coach, you're blinded. Who's Kyle Shanahan? He's an offensive coordinator. Hey, Smitty, how can you say this when his offense was so good? Because he's an offensive coordinator. Did you hear the words come out of my mouth that said that Kyle Shanahan's not a good, at times, offensive coordinator? No, you didn't. He's a good offensive coordinator. He's a good offensive coordinator. He's a good schemer. He's one of the best offensive minds in the game when his head coaching decisions don't get in his way. He's a horrible head coach. He's a horrible head coach. Horrible head coach. Listen to the words coming out of my mouth because these are...
That is facts.
Horrible head coach. He's a great offensive mind, horrible head coach. Why? Because every single head coaching decision he's made the entire season, except for maybe whatever hand he had in the Christian McCaffrey trade, which we believe is probably a John Lynch move, given the ties John Lynch has to the McCaffrey family, that was a John Lynch move, not a Kyle Shanahan move. We don't even know if Shanahan wanted Christian McCaffrey. Wouldn't surprise me if we found out he was against the trade at first or something like that. Shanahan to planet Uranus.
And off he goes to the planet known as Uranus.
Let me get a Shanahan graphic. Let's put a Kyle Shanahan graphic up on planet Uranus because he deserves to be on planet Uranus. I'm putting him on there. And so many people defending him left and right. Smitty, you're crazy. His offense is great. His offense is so good. Smitty, Kyle Shanahan, I can't believe how much hate you have for Kyle Shanahan. He's a good offensive mind. He is a horrible head coach. Call in if you disagree with me. Call in if you disagree with me.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Shanny should be fired. Call in. If you disagree with me, call in and tell me how he's a good offensive coordinator. And then I'm going to stop you in your tracks and say, you're describing an offensive coordinator. You're not describing a head coach. You're describing an offensive coordinator. Shanahan is a good offensive coordinator. Call in and run your mouth, anybody, about how Kyle Shanahan is a good coach, and you're going to start citing offensive coordinator type things. Let's put Kyle Shanahan on planet Uranus.
And off he goes to the planet known as Uranus.
It's unbelievable. The amount of loyalty to this man, Kyle Shanahan. Smitty is on some BS. This game is not on Shanahan. Call in, Showboat. Call in and explain it to me. You're live on the Fantasy Football Show.
Smitty, what's up, brother?
What's up? Who's this?
Hey, man. Shanahan's got to go. I'm telling you right now.
He's got to go. Watch the bombs, Anonymous. Watch the bombs. What's your name, bro?
This is Travis.
Travis. Okay. Yeah, watch the bombs. Yeah, he does have to go, bro.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you hands down, man. Shanahan is a great offensive coordinator. He's not a head coach. Get him off the team, man. He's holding us back.
He is holding you back. And you know, it's so crazy. Like this, who said this over here? Smitty is on some BS. This game is not on Shanahan. Tell me what it is on. Tell me what it is on.
Yeah.
You know, I realize that you're playing from behind. You're behind the eight ball. You lose your quarterback. I get it. But part of why you're down to this quarterback situation is because you ran Trey Lance up the gut like he was Derrick Henry. Part of the reason you're in this situation. Yeah. So, like, I don't want to hear that he didn't.
He's Deebo Samuel up the middle, Trey Lance up the middle. Golly, he might as well start running Brock Purdy up the middle. But let's put it this way. How about the first freaking touchdown for the Eagles? Why is Shanahan not challenging the catch of Devontae Smith on a fourth down?
I haven't even got there yet.
It's a fourth down.
I haven't even got there yet. I'm kind of waiting. That was kind of my ammunition, waiting for a Niner fan to call in and tell me that Shanahan wasn't to fault. Like, it's like that right there. Shanahan's the worst first and second quarter coach right now in my mind. There's nobody that holds his
Absolutely.
weapons back more than Shanahan for the first 2 quarters of every half. You've got one of the most dynamic arsenals of weaponry in the National Football League, and you play like a 12 to 14 scoring team in the first half of every game. Use McCaffrey. And I understand the quarterback went down. I get it, but he's responsible for even being in this position because you should have Trey Lance in there from the start. Not to mention,
I 100% agree. I agree. And let's say this, Josh Johnson 100% was not the answer. The second that man got in there and couldn't catch a snap, and then not only could he not catch it, he couldn't bend over and pick it up after trying to pick it up 3 times. Finally could not pick the ball up, and Shanahan still says, no, let's go with Josh Johnson. Let's not let CMC take over and run the Wildcat for us.
Yeah, and on top of that, another reason why Kyle Shanahan is an awful head coach. Awful head coach. Good offensive coordinator when his head coaching disastrous decision-making doesn't get in the way and drag his offensive coordinator skills down with him. But one reason he's an awful offensive coach is that this guy, okay, Purdy's so injured, as I said at the top of the show, so injured you can't play him. You put Johnson in. And when Johnson goes down, you go back to the guy that's incapable of playing instead of trying to figure something out, which was an impossible task. I get it, but put CMC in there at the Wildcat. Put Debo in at the Wildcat. Put Juice in there who can throw the ball. Juice could throw the ball. Purdy couldn't. Like, I understand you don't want to start Juice as your quarterback. I get it. Like, who wants to put their fullback in at quarterback? I get it. But Purdy couldn't throw 10 yards down the field, so Juice was technically the better quarterback for the moment. It's ridiculous to argue Shanahan made good decisions in this game. Shanahan sold the game. The defense sold the game. The defense gave up so many penalties and kept putting the Eagles in a position to win.
Yep. No, I agree with that, Smitty. You're right. We did fall apart across almost the board, but here we are again, another offseason, and guess what? The same exact spot as the last however many years where I got freaking arguments at the quarterback position now. We got a stacked roster. Who knows what we're going to lose now this offseason? Do we have what it takes to actually rally these guys back and come to an NFC Championship again next year? I don't know.
I'll tell you what the answer is. The answer is Tom Brady. The answer is Tom Brady. Tom Brady.
That'd be a miracle.
Tom Brady. It's not a miracle. Tom Brady is begging to come. He's begging to come,
But Shanahan's dumbass won't bring him on. Shanahan's dumbass will say no again.
You can't drop bombs, bro.
Oh, sorry.
You can't drop.
Shanahan,
no, you know the rules.
Shanahan
You know the rules. You know the rules. You get kicked. It's really simple. Really simple. The monetization of the video is more important than you dropping a bomb. Dial in. Burglar says, I agree. Great OC, horrible head coach. Terrible head coach. And that's facts. If you disagree, call in. I mean, I want to hear. I want to hear. It's all right, bro, but just, I even warn you guys, and then you still do it. It drags the monetization of the video down to a nothing, and then the video's not mine. It costs money. It costs me money. So that's why. Appreciate you calling. Sorry I had to hang up on you, but those are the rules, bro. Michael says, I think Eagles were the better team and were going to dominate no matter what adjustments Shanahan made. I get that, but Shanahan's showing that he's not even capable of putting together a game plan in this situation. He can't adjust in the middle of a game. This is why in the last championship game against the Rams, when McVay said, I'm going to make Jimmy G beat us, and Shanahan didn't adjust and gave Debo Samuel one touch in the second half. He didn't adjust to it, bro. He didn't adjust to it. McVay said, here's my game plan. I'm going to make you beat us with Jimmy G, and Shanahan didn't adjust and adapt. Gave Debo one touch in the second half, you lost the game. What does he do all offseason? creates animosity between Debo and the fan base because he can't give him a contract, which is to the Niners' benefit to sign Debo early on in the offseason because Christian Kirk and Adams and Hill and all these wide receivers were driving up the value and the negotiation struggles that were to pursue or ensue after all these other contracts got inked and started raising the market for wide receiver. He didn't get rid of Jimmy G. He didn't start Trey Lance the year prior when he had won a Houston Texan tough game that had playoff implications, and Trey was ready. You weren't going to win the Super Bowl with Jimmy G. You might as well have gave Trey Lance the opportunity he needed from that Week 17 game on, but you didn't. Tell me a scenario other than the CMC trade, which I believe is John Lynch. Tell me a scenario that has personnel related or team related and not play calling or scheme. Tell me one thing that Shanahan's done amazing this offseason and hasn't botched from Jimmy G. Literally, Jimmy G said bye, and Shanahan didn't know how to trade him. Shanahan was waiting for a first rounder that was never going to come. Everybody's saying the Niners on their fourth QB need to stop. Eagles were better in every way. Look, the Niners defense sold more than even Shanahan. The Niners defense, and they're normally amazing. They're the best defense in the NFL. They sold because they created so many penalty situations that kept turning the opportunity back over to the Eagles. That punt, that was huge. That punt block, that penalty on the punt block, that was huge. I know this is hard to hear for my Niner people, but you're going to hear it on Instagram. You're going to hear it from probably Raj and other guys too that are going to be honest about it, hopefully, and not just say, oh, it couldn't be helped and Shanahan did great. He didn't do great. The defense didn't do great. There was a lot of selling going on, and it's unfortunate because I feel for Niner fans because you had arguably the most incredible run I've seen in a long time on the back of Christian McCaffrey. Like, the Niners deserve credit for what they did. Everybody should acknowledge how good of a season the Niners had. You are one of 4 teams left. The Niners defense was absolute fire all year. Everybody was scared to play the Niners. Christian McCaffrey, the Niners won 11 straight games since he was in the lineup. Christian McCaffrey was single-handedly probably the trade of the decade. If the Niners would have won, it would have been the trade of the decade. Now it's going to be, well, remember when the Niners made the trade of the decade and didn't convert. But this was one of the best trades I've ever seen for a team. And nobody else gave up enough or tried to get Christian McCaffrey. The Niners did. The Niners did a lot of great things walking up to this point. But the defense, Kyle Shanahan, it all fell apart. And I blame Shanahan for everybody saying it's not Shanahan's fault that you didn't have quarterbacks. I turned to the play calling, the style, the reason Trey Lance was injured to begin with. And it all comes down to you losing your starting quarterback early on because you tried to run him like a fullback. So we can act like, okay, Purdy was great, though. That ended up solving the issue and all that. He was still a very inexperienced quarterback. And honestly, you could even say not activating Jimmy G was an awful decision. Even though I didn't want him to be active because I didn't want a controversy, it was like you're going to literally go in to the situation and your one position where you continuously get injured, maybe you should have 3 quarterbacks on roster walking into game day. Maybe during the NFC Championship, you should have 3 quarterbacks. Jimmy G maybe should have been your emergency quarterback. I mean, if you disagree with me, I gladly welcome you to call in and debate it with me. We'll be civil to each other, but the Niners need to go after Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the answer. Tom Brady is headed to San Francisco, in my opinion, at this point. You got to call in with your number, or I don't answer your calls anymore. Because if you do that, you're just going to swear. If you're going to come in and try and drop some bombs or whatever, then at least I have your phone number. So you're going to call in anonymous and blocked. I'm not going to answer your call. Plain and simple. We could run the ball. We had no passing offense, says Niner Chief. Okay. How many times do I have to tell you I'm not answering your call unless you unblock your number? What's up, Ben? You're live on the Fantasy Football Show. Watch the bombs, Ben. I don't want to have to hang up on anybody anymore. It's getting tiresome.
I'm telling you, that was a terrible game. Terrible game. But Tom Brady is not going to San Francisco.
What makes you say that? Because if it's up to him, he is. If it's up to Shanahan to say no, then you could be right. That could be, Shanahan could say no. I don't even know if Shanahan's not on the hot seat at this point, and everyone's going to act like that's funny and it's a joke, and oh my God, you hear this clown? Like, mid-season, everybody's talking about him being on the hot seat, then Purdy comes in and you start winning McCaffrey trade, and then all of a sudden it's a joke to talk about him being on the hot seat. And hot seat doesn't have to mean he's gone this year. It means it's one more year and he's done. If he can't do it, he's done. And I know you could say, Smitty, he went to the NFC Championship game, but the problem is Shanahan can't close. It doesn't matter how many NFC Championship games you go to. He's part of the problem. He used Deebo Samuel one time in the second half last year, and now in this situation, he puts Brock Purdy in the game who can't throw the football.
I agree.
It's like
definitely took Purdy out. McCaffrey should have been Wildcat, extra receiver in there.
Why not? Why not put Juice or McCaffrey or Debo in there and do a rotation? Why would you put a quarterback in the defense knows can't throw 7 yards down the field because he's injured? You're going to stack the box. They couldn't run. And you're down 21-7, which turned into 28-7. How are you going to come back with no quarterback throwing the football?
But on that punt, when it was still 21-7, the 49ers were supposed to get the ball back, and Jack Stoll, number 89 for Philly, pushes the San Francisco guy into the punter to get the Philadelphia first down, and they should have never got that because the offensive number 89 Jack Stoll pushed.
Yeah. Crazy, man. It is crazy.
I think the 49ers didn't deserve the win, but the 49ers got shafted on some calls.
Moonman Rick says Shanahan up for Coach of the Year. Oh, yeah? I appreciate you, though, Moonman Rick, but let's stop with that. Let's stop with the Bijan to San Francisco that you keep talking about. Let's stop with the Shanahan's an amazing coach. I appreciate you, though. Vamp says, Smitty, did you see that Tyler Huntley might be a Pro Bowler? Bro, that's crazy. That's crazy. Hold on. You're live on the Fantasy Football Show. Who is this? You're live with Ben and Smitty.
Hello, this is Wong from Wong Chinese. I have an order of orange chicken, beef broccoli, a sweet and sour chicken lo mein.
Do you want me to read your? You want me to read your number back? You want me to read your number back for everybody so we can make sure that they call to order from this restaurant?
What? This is the number you gave me for order.
No, do you want me to read? Do you want me to read your number back? Do you want me to read your number back to everybody so they know how to call this restaurant?
No, please.
Here, I'll read it back. Here's the number. The number is the number is 60.
You cannot deliver.
602.
You have to come.
You want me to read your number? You want me to read your number?
Well, don't order ever again.
Okay.
I give your
deal
number to all restaurants.
Look, you call up and you try and run circles around me. I'm going to run circles right back at you. And next time I'm going to give this number to this restaurant out, and you guys can all call it. How's that? Tom Brady is washed up, says Jesus. I don't think so in this Niner system, pal. I don't think so. Tom Brady wants to go to San Francisco, Ben. He wants it bad. He wants it really bad, bro.
I agree.
And you think John Lynch?
I don't think he's got it.
You think John Lynch is who I think is 90% responsible for that Christian McCaffrey trade? Do you think John Lynch isn't going to push for it? Really? I think he will. I think he will. Tom Brady's going to call up John Lynch and say, forget this guy Shanahan. I'll coach the team on the field. And Shanahan's going to have to deal with it. He's going to have to deal with it. You know why Shanahan doesn't want Tom Brady? Because he doesn't want to run a system that Tom Brady wants to run. He wants to run his system, and Tom Brady knows more than him. So it's like that's intimidating for Shanahan. He's got an ego, and, it's crazy.
I hear you. At the end of the day, though, I think the only way I think Brady does want to go to San Francisco, but at the end of the day, I think the only way that he's going to be able to get a deal done is if he agrees to take a very team-friendly deal.
You know what I think too? I think someone said here, Smitty, does D'Amico as head coach for the Niners a possibility? No, I don't think. Well, you never know, bro. You never know. But I think D'Amico is going to go elsewhere. I don't think D'Amico stays. There was a thought, like, what if he wanted to just stay one more year, get better, and then go get a coaching job? But I think the feel of this team right now, I think he probably wants to capitalize and not potentially squander this opportunity that may or may not be there next year. If the team will never be better than it was right now. Not saying they can't win a Super Bowl with Tom Brady. I think they can. But I think this team looks so good, and D'Amico Ryans looked so good as a defensive coordinator that it could only go downhill from here in terms of that opportunity he probably has sitting in front of him right now. The Cardinals would be a great landing spot. We would welcome D'Amico with open arms, fix up our defense, ground and pound. Maybe he'd be interested in drafting Bijan at number 3 or trading down to like 6 or 7 and taking Bijan to be safe in order to get him because he's going to go top 12. You don't know where inside the top 12. So Bijan earlier is better. And so maybe D'Amico goes ahead and figures a way to, to build this team up from the defensive side of the football and the ground and pound complement. And then Kyler can be like a game manager with a Fields type ability to scramble. Now, Kyler probably not ready for week 1. Kyler's probably not ready for a long time. We'll find that out. So we don't know if D'Amico wants to step into that situation. The Cardinals situation, if it was me, I would trade Kyler Murray away. I don't want Kyler Murray. He didn't deserve the bag. And if he's injured and he's not even ready for week 1, what are we doing? What coach is going to want to come here? So I feel like if I'm a coach and I go there, I want free reign to deal Kyler. And if I get the approval for that, I would maybe come. And then I would trade Kyler. I would try and get into that. I'd try to get into a Bryce Young or a Stroud. Or I'd try and trade for an A-Rod or lure Brady in, which isn't going to probably happen. Who wants to come to Arizona? Probably nobody. It's a pipe dream. But I would try and get Stroud. I'd try and get that Stroud or Bryce Young pick and still get Bijan. Maybe you can trade that 3 up to 2, or maybe you get lucky and Stroud or Bryce Young fall to you at 3, and then you trade into the 7 pick using Kyler. You trade into the 9 pick using Kyler. Carolina might give up the 9 pick for Kyler. I'd even kick a second rounder back, whatever it took to get rid of Kyler's contract and to get rid of Kyler. You get Stroud, you get Bijan, you start building. And then D'Amico Ryans' defense, in 2 years, the Cardinals start doing well. Brady is washed. He ain't coming to San Francisco. Just wait, Niner Chief. The buzz is at least going to be to the rafters, bro. Like, maybe it doesn't end up happening. There's a lot of situations. Looking at the Brady board here, this is the Brady board. You've got Brady and A-Rod as potential Niner situations. You've got a franchise tag and trade to Miami with the Lamar Jackson situation. You got Brady and A-Rod in Miami. You've got all 3 of these quarterbacks going to any one of these 4 teams. I firmly believe that at least 2 of these quarterbacks will be on 2 of these teams. I truly believe that. Down deep. And it feels like Brady to the Niners, Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, and then Lamar to either Miami or the Raiders, and Derek Carr is going to the other. Like, if I had to force movement, like maybe Lamar doesn't get traded. He gets franchise tagged. Maybe he signs, whatever. But it's like, this is how I feel. Derek Carr is the leftovers. Derek Carr to Miami, Derek Carr to the Raiders if Lamar's not traded. And I believe these two teams get these two quarterbacks, Brady and A-Rod. But it's tough to say. Kyle still reject Brady again. He could, but maybe John Lynch won't allow that. Maybe it's not going to be up to Kyle Shanahan anymore to make decisions, especially personnel decisions, because he's awful at it.
If the Ravens decide to keep Lamar, that'll just be dumb for them because they know Lamar doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, and I think that even though players they shouldn't have control, they still do. They still do. For some crazy reason, teams bow down to a player's threat, social media tantrum. And if Lamar says, yeah, I don't want to sign a long-term deal.
If they're good enough, they will.
I could see Lamar saying, I don't want to sign a long-term deal. I've failed there 3 years, and I blame you guys. I blame you for getting rid of Hollywood Brown. I blame you guys for not supporting me enough. I want to go somewhere with weapons. Send me to Miami. I want to play with Hill and Waddle. Send me to the Raiders. I want to play with Devontae Adams. Lamar to one of these teams just makes a whole lot of sense. You know, in Miami, Mike will pay whatever it takes to get Lamar. And Lamar could go to New York because New York could pay whatever it takes to get Lamar. The Raiders might, because the Raiders were so embarrassed last year and should have been a wild card lock and a division potential winner. Like, it was who's going to win the AFC West. We didn't know. They were all so good, and it was embarrassment. So the Raiders with Devontae Adams on such a big contract, wasting time and money, and he's getting older, you know the Raiders are going to get aggressive. Aggressive. Nothing's off the table for these three teams in terms of going after a quarterback.
I can't speak for Lamar, but I think he feels, and I feel that for a long time, the owners have been telling players and fans that it's a business, and that's why players get moved, and that's why players get cut, is because it's a business. And so I think the way Lamar feels is that if that's how they want to play, then he's willing to play that business game. And I'm interested to see how far it takes him.
Yep. But appreciate you calling, Ben. I'm going to jump to get onto the KC Bengal conversation. Who's your prediction for that game? Who you picking to win?
It's Burrowhead, baby.
Burrow, baby. Burrow time. All right, appreciate you, Ben.
Yep, 31-28. Take care, Smitty. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
Yep. We are on to the next game. Enough about Shanny, enough about the Niners, enough about the Eagles even until next time, right? Joe Burrow marching in to play a hampered, not as hampered as we would have thought, right? Mahomes. But marching in to play a hampered Mahomes and then marching in to play a hampered Jalen Hurts. So Joe Burrow, smooth, calm, collected, Joseph, cigar smoking Burrow is going to have a day. And I can't wait. I can't wait. It's already 0-0. Woo! 2nd and 10. Joseph, cigar smoking Burrow marching down the field. I'm going to call it right now and get to this game. We'll be live potentially at halftime or at the end of this game. I'll see you all in just a little bit. Appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe on your way out the door. Hit that thumb up button. Go Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, 2nd down. Drops back. Hold on. 2nd and 10. 13:37 left in the first quarter. Joe Burrow in shotgun formation. 2nd and 10. Delayed handoff to Pirine. Pirine gets about 4 or 5 yards short of a first down. 3rd down. I like Pirine. Kansas City Chief defensive player down. Snead. That's not good. That's not good. All right, guys. I will see you at halftime. Appreciate you all.